Do you normally follow me on TikTok? I'm guessing you haven't seen me for a while. That's because I've been battling a crushing shadow ban. And I also have an account warning. As most of you know, I got banned over a year ago, and it's been a struggle to get back to where I was. And these shadow bans aren't helping. To try to save this account, I've put my TikTok account on private. And I'm taking a break from TikTok until November. I've even deleted the app. If you want to see my usual short form content, then please follow me on Instagram. The link's in the description. Again, follow me on Instagram. Also, so TikTok can't pull an Andrew Tate on me, I'm asking people to subscribe to my email list. If you do, I'll send you some cool stickers free of charge with postage paid. I'll put the link in the description for that too, but you can sign up at list.comeonmanpod.com. Get some cool stickers, and here's the show.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of Come On Man. If you haven't done so already, please like, fave, subscribe, hit those notifications. If you are listening on your favorite audio platform of choice, please give us a 5-star review and actually write out why you like the show. I say this every week. Oh, and if you are watching on YouTube this week, please drop a comment. Comments and likes, they all help us in the algorithm. You can write whatever you want. Just drop an emoji or something. I don't give a shit. Just do it. Help us out. Gets us in front of more men. All right. I want to give a shout out to the Patreon. There's 5 tiers available. Help support the show. The lowest tier is only $5. You guys could skip Starbucks, one day a month and help support the show. And it really does help. It really does help. It's much more beneficial to the podcast and getting us in front of more men than any previous sponsors ever did. So, there's a few at the time of this recording, there's a few seats left in the premium tier too. That's actually, everyone goes to the premium tier. So, because that's the one that gives the most value. So everyone's going for that. And there's a few seats still available for that if you want to do that. But check it out. Link is in the description. All right. This week, my brother Luke from Bristol returns. And we really wanted to do an episode where we talked about how important it is to be consistent, to be a consistent person. In a previous podcast I did with another 3% brother of ours, Jahan, he talked about how important it is to be a man of process. So you need to start making certain things a habit, right? Like if you want to be in good shape, you have to be consistent with working out. You can't work out 2 days, 1 week and like skip 3 weeks and then work out one day and expect to have any kind of progress. It just doesn't work that way. Same thing goes with dating. Same thing goes with your career. You have to be a man of process and be consistent and show up consistently in pretty much everything you want to do and be good at. So I will bring you that conversation with Luke right after these words. Hey, you, I'm going to make this real quick. I know you hate ads. If you like this show, if you love this podcast, if you think more men should tune in, then you should consider joining my Patreon. You will be supporting the show, and I get to help more men level up their lives. There's now 5 tiers available, starting as low as $5 a month. It's like buying me a beer, and each tier gives you better bonuses. Visit patreon.com/comeonmanpod to sign up. That's patreon.com/comeonmanpod. One last time, that's patreon.com/comeonmanpod. Help me help more men level up and be better with women. All right, returning to the podcast is my most consistent guest, my brother from Bristol, Luke. Speaking of being consistent, that's exactly what we're talking about today. The importance of being consistent. What's going on, Luke?
Hey, Paul, how's it going? Well, it is the summertime, so I'm on school vacation. I'm probably glowing, apart from the little discussions we've had, which we won't go into on here. Life is beautiful. I am enjoying all of my abundance.
That's awesome. Yeah, actually, I've been really enjoying our discussions lately because of how awesome things are going for you. And since the last time we spoke, a lot has gone down for both of us. And you were just on a couple months ago for the 100th episode. And so we've been in touch since then, but what pretty much I think when that episode dropped, I started a Patreon and you started date coaching yourself, basically.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I have been consistently in the abundance zone for, I don't know now, what is it, 2 months now, 3 months? I'm not sure, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got 3 in the rotation right now. And so Benny has now got me.
Benny Lichtenwalner. Yeah.
Benny Lichtenwalner, my coach, has now got me. I'm writing content for the Facebook page, doing live videos
for his Warriors Quest dating page.
Yeah, for his Warriors Quest dating page. And I have just last night, he's now, officially signed me up to do some coaching now. Because before then I was just helping out because I was in the group. And so any paid group where people have parted with hard cash, I love working with them. I love that working with people who have like thrown some G's at it, because when I tell them to do it, they do it.
Right. And, they have skin in the game. That's one of the reasons why I started the Patreon. We've talked about this offline. That's one of the reasons why I started the Patreon, because in the free groups, even in the 3% Man Facebook group where you and I got our start, basically, I mean, there are guys like us that are putting in the work, but most of them aren't. There's like 1,400 guys in that group. And I would say I could probably count on 2 hands the guys that are actually, reading the book, applying the principles, doing the work. The rest of the guys are just there, there's about 6 of them, and about 3 out of 6 of them are in Benny's group already, are in his paid group anyway. Right.
Like there's this guy Costas who came in recently. He is serious. He asked questions and he's done everything I've told him to do. And he's killing it right now. He's actually in Benny's high ticket program.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say to the guys out there, if you're serious about this and you're having, and you're not one of those guys that can do it on your own. Cause there are guys out there that can read the books and go, you know what, I'm going to try this out tonight. And then they have the self accountability and the self motivation to go do that. But a lot of these guys don't. And if you're one of those guys, which is fine, and you need a little bit of help, then I would suggest paying for coaching, whether it's by Patreon or going with Luke and Warriors Crest. I don't care. As long as you're putting some kind of skin in the game to get the results that you want, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, we have a level 1 program now, which has replaced the free group. Mm-hmm. And there's someone was like, oh, why have you ditched the free group? And then he like aired all his dirty laundry. And it's like, that's why you know what I mean? Like, that, like reading that at 1 a.m. when I'm trying to just, go to sleep. It's like, that's why I've stopped that. But like, there's our level 1 program is $45 a month. I mean, those guys, they're not putting in the same effort as the level 2 guys. But if I was in there with that level 1 group, you've got 2 coaching calls a month with the group. You've got access to people like me in the WhatsApp group. Like I would kill it in that level 1 program. Mm-hmm. Or like if I was in your Patreon, that's enough. Yeah. For most people that is enough for most people to absolutely slay it.
Yeah. Yeah. My Patreon, there's lower tiers in this, but mostly those are just like to support the podcast, maybe sponsor a video or something. But, my Discord, my private Discord group is only $25, and you basically get unlimited text access to me, at that point. So, I mean, some of these are pretty nominal, like it's pretty affordable to put a little bit of effort in, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. And these same people who say, oh, I can't afford it. They're the same people who say, I went out drinking with my friends last night. Oh, so you can afford to go and buy alcohol?
Right. Or they buy a cup of coffee every morning on their way to work, at Starbucks. It's like $5 a coffee.
Yeah. It's the same amount of money as organic meat. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're going to spend the money anyway. You might as well spend it on something that's an investment in yourself. So people are like, is this just one big sales pitch? Yeah, sort of. No, just kidding. It's no. So we were chatting offline like we do all the time, and we were coming up with topics to discuss. one of the things that we have to do still is a full episode on hypergamy and how men can take advantage of it and not be scared of it and stuff like that. But this episode, we decided we would talk about consistency and why it's important. So Luke, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Why is being consistent so important? And what does it mean to be consistent?
It means, in my perspective, it means turning up every fucking day for years and just chipping away. So you get a lot of guys who come in and they're all tough and, they're like, oh yeah, man, hypergamy doesn't care. And they're like, I'm going to the gym 5 times a week, 5 times or 6 days a week. And they're reading the book like for 3 hours a day. That is not sustainable. Mm-hmm. Like, the question is, what could you do for the next 40 years of your life every fucking day and it would not drain you? So for me, I go to the gym 3 times a week, sometimes 2, alongside an active lifestyle. And I can maintain that for, I always do Monday and Friday. If on a good week, I can do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Like, my Wednesday is optional. But I always in the gym, I always message you at the same time every day, Monday and Friday. And I always walk around 3 p.m. Like, sometimes it's a fast walk, sometimes it's a slower walk, depending on how much I've done in the gym. But I always exercise. I never miss it. Mm-hmm. But I only give myself the right amount that I know that I can continue doing till I'm 80 years old without any stress or strain or, injury or like overload or overwhelm. Like, what could you do? And it's the same with, reading like these books here. It's about 10 minutes a day. I read about 10 minutes on each book I read, sort of 10 to 20 minutes, no more. I do not read an hour a day. I could not sustain that for the next 40 years of my life. Mm-hmm. And so for the last 3 years, I have been, now there are times where I did take some time out from it and I wasn't so consistent, but for the most part of it, for the majority of the time that we've known each other, I have just, the same with you, been chipping away, reading 10 to 20 minutes every day instead of an hour, like once a month, or 2 hours once a week, just consistently, same time, part of my routine, going to the gym these times, reading the books at these times. I always listen when I'm in the car on the way to work. Mm-hmm. And I often listen when I'm on the way back from the gym as well. And that's it. That's what I do consistently on the way to the grocery store, like having your routines of always listening, always reading, working out a sustainable amount that is not going to overwhelm you, that you can do year after year. And here we are. Yeah. 3 years later, since I started the game, 2 years after 3% Man, I'm 10 reads in, you're about 20 reads in, and we're both in phenomenal shape, and women are chasing us, and we're actually having too much sex right now, and it's a problem.
It's not a problem. What you were saying about that actually makes a lot of sense, right? I determined years ago, I used to be, and I've told the story, I think, on the podcast a million times. I used to be like 230 pounds when I moved back to Colorado. This was like right at the end of my marriage. 230 pounds was probably my heaviest. And I'm only 5'9", 5'10" on a tall day. Right. Yeah. So if you put that in your mind, like I was a pretty portly guy. And if you looked at me, I think at that time I was like maybe 35 or something like that. I looked like I was 45. And when I finally decided that I was tired of being that way, tired of being a fat pig, tired of being unhealthy, and I decided to lose that weight. One of the things that I absolutely determined I was going to do was work out 5 days a week. Right. And so, I would say, like, do what like you said, what you can do for the long haul. Right. Because working out 7 days a week is not sustainable for most people. 5 days a week is fine because you have your weekends off, and that's what I like to do. And I still even will work out on a Saturday, but it's more of a leisure thing, like going hiking. but I work out 5 days a week. And I also, even if I'm traveling, I make it a point that I am still going to do at least something, right? So I'm at least going to go for a run. Even if it's a short run, I'm still going to go for it. I have surgery coming up. By the time this drops, I might have already had surgery. I don't know if we talked about that, but I got a gallbladder surgery. It's awesome. But my doctor told me I can't work out for 3 weeks. He's like, no heavy lifting. I was like, what about running? He's like, no running. I was like, fuck. What about walking? And he goes, okay, yeah, walking would be good for you. And I was like, okay, I need to at least go for a walk 5 days a week, right? Yeah. Like, so that's what we're talking about when it comes to being consistent, right? Like, you have to set these goals and be like, you know what, no matter what, no excuses, discipline over motivation. I'm going to do it because I have to do it.
Yeah. And if you slip, you don't beat yourself up. You just accept it. You forgive yourself. You accept it. Some days you just need time off. And you're like, I accept that. It does not make me less of a man. You don't identify with it and go, oh, well, I fucked up now, so I'm just going to smoke a load of pot, shoot a load of fucking crack. And do you know what I mean? You're like, you just like, okay, I accept this. And then you get back at it the next day, you know? You got to do something now because you work from home. I think it is a bit slightly easier to get your 5 in, but I'm always on the road all the time with my job.
Way easier for me. And I recognize that.
Yeah. So if I can get Monday and Friday every week, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday on good weeks, like, I mean, that's enough for what I do, because I'm also surfing quite a bit, and I walk every day. So like my body is constantly moving. Mm-hmm. So if you have an active lifestyle and you do full body workouts twice a week, intense full body workouts on Monday and Friday every week for the next 5 years with a really good diet, plenty of sunlight, plenty of walking, at least half an hour of fast walking or slow walking if you've been to the gym every fucking day, that's enough. That's enough to have abs. That's enough to have guns. That's enough to be low body fat percentage, to be everything that you want to be. But it's about what is it that you can do for years without any serious problems or injuries, without overdoing it. Because a lot of guys come in and they, read 50 books at the same time, and they, buy 1 million courses, and then they work out 7 days a week, having never worked out in their life before. Yeah. And they're like going to Gold Gym and all that. And then they, fucking tear a ligament on something. And then they, and then they don't get the result. Like with dating, like they're like, fuck, like I set up 4 dates and all 4 of them flaked. Well, yeah, that happens in the outset. And that can happen for years until you've figured out all the little things that you were doing wrong.
Yeah. So, and I would say too, like, even when things are going great, that can occasionally happen too, sometimes all your plates will fall off, and it's like, it just happens sometimes. But if you're consistent with all this other shit that you're always doing, your life is fulfilled. Like you can say, oh, well, this chick canceled on me tonight. My backup chicks are busy. Well, you know what? I have my gym I can go do, or I can start a new book or something like that. I think, it really comes down to a routine that you can do pretty much for the rest of your life. Right.
And I had a friend who was an absolute fucking dickhead. He's not my friend anymore. His house was a mess, which is a big red flag. His whole life was a mess. Now, I shouldn't talk bad about people, but he was a perfect, he was a twat. He stood me up on a very important occasion when, I'd put a lot of money down on an event. He just backed out and never spoke to me again. But this guy, his whole life was a mess. He refused to, basically he was living outside of his means, so he was always broke all the time. He was always spending more money than he had. So he was a woodworker, and he hired out this really expensive workshop in a different city who he'd have to commute to every day, and he was paying rent in a really expensive part of town. He was always having to do Uber Eats to make up the money. He was always flaking and canceling because he was broke. And so, his house was a mess. His life was a mess. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm not sure what day I'm going to go to the gym. And I was like, when was the last time you worked out? He was like, yeah, it was last month. And I was like, dude, get a fucking routine.
Yeah.
Get a routine.
Once a month you might as well not even go.
Yeah. But like, you have to know what day, what time.
Yeah.
Have to know. Fucking Monday morning, first thing after breakfast. Fucking Friday morning, straight away after, Friday afternoon, immediately after work. Every fucking week, nothing happens. If someone gives me another offer, I will say I'll do that when I'm finished work. I mean, if it's a surfing trip, then I don't need that workout because I'm going to get the workout on the board.
Sure.
And then I'll just do something like Wednesday instead of Monday, or Wednesday instead of Friday, or Tuesday. Do you know what I mean? Thursday instead of Friday, or Wednesday and Tuesday instead of Monday, right? Because I've got the recovery. But you have to have a routine. So it's, because otherwise there's all this mental cognition, there's all this planning and thinking about it. You cannot be thinking about it. It needs to be instinctive.
Yeah, this is what I do. I do this every day. Yeah.
It's like, you don't say, oh, I don't know what time I'm going to brush my teeth every day. You don't go, oh, when should I brush my teeth? Then you just fucking do it.
Yeah.
It's a habit. It has to be a habit.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
For order for something to be unconscious, to actually get past the conscious mind and get into the unconscious mind, you need to have done it, I don't know, 10 to 15 times.
Yeah. Actually, I think they say, was it 2000? I don't know what it is. Becomes a habit. Maybe, or no, maybe it's like 10 days.
21 days, isn't it?
21 days or something like that. Yeah. Something, you need to build it and make it a habit. There's a really good book, speaking of books, called The Power of Habit. I highly recommend people read. There's a story in there. I think like the whole first part of the book is about this one guy who had some kind of brain damage and he couldn't form new memories, but his subconscious mind still worked. And that's where your habits typically are stored. And he was able to basically live a fulfilling life, although he had no idea what he was doing, like from day to day. He couldn't remember what he did yesterday. He would start doing things every day. Like he would go for a walk every day and still be able to find his way back to his house. He would go and collect pine cones and come back to his house. He had no idea how he was doing it, but that habit formed. And if that guy can do it, you can do it. I'm sure, you could get your life in order long enough to come up with a plan and start practicing certain things.
It was like Glenn Campbell on his final tour. He had dementia. He didn't know where he was or who he was, but you put the guitar in his hand and he just played.
Mm-hmm. Who's Glenn Campbell?
He's a country singer from, I think he was Nashville. My dad watched him in his final tour, and like they had to literally lead him in, and he tried to go out the wrong door. But once he was on stage, he was like, "Good evening, everyone." It was like right back, just autopilot, and he just got the guitar out and went, it was all that. Yeah,
that's fascinating. We talked about books a little bit. So some things I try to be consistent on are reading my holy trinity of dating books over and over again, periodically. While also breaking up the monotony by reading other books. Now, I found that to be the easiest to do because I listen to audiobooks. So we talk about working out too. I like to go for runs. Right now I'm running 3 days a week, and then I do weight training 2 days a week. So but all 5 of them, I'm usually working out about an hour. And so I can get an hour of audiobook reading in. So it's pretty easy to keep reading my holy trinity of books over and over again. And one thing that I just posted on the 3% Man Facebook group about this, because there was a guy who said that he got off track. He was in a relationship. It wasn't going well. And I was like, well, what got you off track? He goes, I stopped reading the book. I stopped exercising. I stopped doing all this stuff because a lot of you guys will get into this stuff. You'll watch my podcast videos on YouTube. You'll listen on audio. You'll think you have your shit together. And then when you get to where you want to be, like you find a girl you like, you're making the money you want to make, you stop doing this shit. You stop doing it and you go back to old habits. You got to keep doing it. It's
fucking disgraceful. It is fucking disgraceful that you did, not you, Paul, that you fuckers did that to get a girl. Why the fuck would you look after yourself and take care of yourself to get a girl? You should be exercising because you go fucking insane if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, and that's
I can't live with myself if I don't.
Right, and that's one of the things I love about the red pill, like the actual red pill, not the black pill.
Yeah,
bashing women bullshit on the internet. That's one of the things about the red pill is that you work out, you become attractive, you get your money in order, you do all this stuff for you.
Yeah.
Not to get the girls. And getting the girls happens to be a side effect of making yourself a better person and working on yourself.
It is. And all the things that girls like in a man. I mean, when you do it, it's like, wow, I wish I'd been doing that before. Like taking ownership of things and not reacting to things and, being my best self and having phenomenal style and having an 8-pack and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, I wish I'd been doing that shit before. But the fact of the matter is that it's cause and effect, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of guys are focusing on the smoke and they're not stoking the fire. They're all like, oh, where's the smoke? Where's the smoke? It's like, just light the fire and keep the fire going and focus on the fire, which is your self-improvement, and do it for you. You improve yourself for you. I get more ripped for me. I eat healthy because it makes me feel good. I go to bed early so that I can get up and do a better job in the office the next day, so that I can feel more energized, so that I can push myself harder in the room. I'm doing this for me, motherfucker. And my friend back in the day said, oh, you're only doing that to get girls, aren't you? And I was like, no, because then I got a girlfriend for years and years. And did I let myself go? No. In fact, sex, here's a fun one. Have you noticed this? If you shoot your load too many times, it like literally drains you. The only thing that really brings me back to life is high intensity interval training and heavy lifting. The more I get laid, the more I have to work out to bring my testosterone back up.
Yeah. Interesting. I think I'm a little bit different, but I hear where you're coming from with that. One thing I do want to say though, is a lot of guys find themselves in this space because they are fucking up with women. That's how I found myself in the space. Right. Yeah. But you can't stay in that mindset of I'm going to do this to get better with women. The funny thing is, like, once you learn what it takes to get better with women and you apply that stuff, it makes you a better man in general. But you have to keep doing that shit, and you have to realize that you're doing it for you. Yeah. Not for them. And then they are a byproduct of it. Like I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, what it is, a large part of it as well, is it's the ego. See, the ego steps in and says, oh, this is just who I am now. It's like, no, motherfucker, it's not who you are. It's what you're doing. And there's a while where you can ride that abundance wave. And because you've still got all that abundance, you continue to be totally relaxed. And like, you can even say the wrong shit and you say it kind of in the right way because you've still got all the abundance. And then once it's gone, it's gone. And then you're like, oh my God, what happened? The amount of times I've heard people say, oh yeah, going back to the gym has been a great help. It's like, what? Why are you
going back to the gym?
Yeah, exactly. So you're telling me that you stopped being the attractive, strong, sexy motherfucker that you were? Because when you get trapped in motion, when you get in your head, going and exercising, flushes it back out again. It gets all the blood flowing again. It regulates you. Like, if your physical health isn't good, your mental health is going to fuck up. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. And the information, it doesn't stay in your head. You have to keep refreshing it. So, as I say, reading the books, my holy, what is it? What are we calling it? Quadratic
equation. I don't know. Yeah. Something
like that. my holy four. Yeah. It's like, I'm reading them all the fucking time. The fucking time, year after year. You and me have now been reading those same books for 2 years without stopping now. We never took our foot off the gas, ever.
Yeah, there's some that I've read more than others, right? Like Nurse Chick, for instance, wanted to read How to Be a 3% Man. So on a road trip, we put on Corey Wayne's book. So together, we're actually on my 21st read of that. So the other ones, like I've read maybe 10 times, the other ones in my Trinity. I want to stop reading Corey's book for a little bit though, and read some of these other ones and bring that number up to 10. And then there's other books where they're on my multi-read list, but I'm not necessarily setting a goal of 10 to 15 times. Like I maybe once a year with some of those, like maybe like Rational Male or something like that. But like I those are all ones that I want to read multiple times. Otherwise, I want to listen to other similar books. Otherwise, it gets monotonous. That's another thing too, is I think one of the reasons why a lot of guys quit is they get burnt out on something, right? Like the Corey's book, 10 to 15 times, like if you listen to that every day, like our friend Nathan, right? Nathan, before he left for the Navy, he was like a cook or something. So he would put his earbuds in and he would have an 8-hour shift. Well, that book is like 7 hours long. And so he would put it on when he started and listen to it every day. So he had like 100 reads or something just from the audiobook because he would listen to it every day at work. Like that would get boring as fuck for me. And the same with working out. Like there's a reason why a lot of people, stop working out too, like it gets boring going and doing the same shit every time. So I recommend changing things up, right? Like I've been consistently working out 5 days a week since 2016. And one of the things I find is like, I will get tired of weight training, right? Like I'll get tired of going to the gym and like lifting weights. So instead I might take 3 weeks off from lifting weights and I'll do calisthenics, or I'll instead of that, I'll just take all lifting off the table and just for 2 or 3 weeks, just run 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Or I get tired of running. And so what I'll do is I'll do weight training 3 days a week, and then I'll cut my running down to 2 days a week. Like you change things up, but you stay consistent with the amount of days that you're putting in, right? I always will do 5 days. Doesn't matter what the workout is.
That's good. That's good stuff. For me, that would be like the difference between the treadmill and rowing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll be doing my steady run followed by interval training on the treadmill. And then other days I will be doing the exact same kind of thing, a similar formula on the rowing machine, which, hits a load of different muscle groups, but essentially you're doing the same format. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And
I would also interject there. Since we talked about Benny, Benny practices Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've done martial arts on and off for years since I was a kid, and you're a Taekwondo guy, like I would say if things are getting boring at the gym, things are getting boring, just running and stuff like that, go join a martial arts gym, because martial arts is a fucking workout, especially if you find a good school. I did Kempo for a little bit. Kempo was not a good workout. I would, that school, like it was very much like their concept there was like, if you are fighting longer than 3 minutes, you're doing it wrong. And so like their whole thing was like ending things quickly, and so it was a very practical martial art, like Kempo is pretty practical. It's like Krav Maga. So they're all about like, breaking arms and fucking people up so that they don't want to fight anymore,
Yeah, fair enough.
And so what I found was, because I was using that as an outlet to work out, and I wasn't really getting that good of a workout at the dojo. I would run to the dojo every day, work out, and then run home. That was my actual workout. But what were you gonna say?
Okay, yeah. So one of the things would be to find a workout method that you enjoy, because the thing is, a lot of people in the manosphere will say, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Well, to be honest with you, I've tried a bit of both of those, but they are not my thing. No matter how effective they might be on the streets, I was just built for Taekwondo.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like John Fitch from he's a former UFC guy. He's on Rule Zero. He says all the time that grappling isn't as difficult as striking, which is why most people, when they first get into grappling, they suck at it. I'm going to be honest. When I went to Benny's retreat last year and we did the grappling, I sucked at it. I was like probably one of the worst guys at it. I'm not going to try to push myself up and say I was fucking awesome at it, because I wasn't. And any of the guys there would be like, yeah, Paul was terrible. But yeah, doing Taekwondo and karate and stuff growing up, I was really good at that. Really good at sparring and stuff. So
you have to find the workout. You have to find the one that the passion that burns in you. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? You have to find the sport that you want to do. And I know for a fact that I could knock somebody the fuck out. I know how dangerous I am with these hands. Like whether you put me in Muay Thai, whether you put me in karate, whether it's Kung Fu, like I know that I can absolutely spark people out with one punch if I have to. Mm-hmm. So I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid on the streets.
Yeah.
I'd rather it doesn't happen, but I feel like I can handle things, regardless of the style.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much with Tai Chi, perhaps, but.
Speaking of, we're sort of off on a tangent here, but I'm having fun with it. So at the time of this recording, by the time this drops, it's probably going to be like October or something like that. But at the time of this recording, this past weekend was WWE SummerSlam. And, I'm a big wrestling nerd. You guys see my belts in the background. So Nurse Chick and I were watching SummerSlam, and Ronda Rousey, who was a former UFC champion, she's in WWE now. So, we're watching her match. And one thing that one thing that Nurse Chick asked me was, hey, did you ever watch any of Rousey's matches in UFC? And I said, yeah, I watched a couple. And I said, I remember one where she won that match in 14 seconds. And it was because she's a grappler. So she ran up on this chick, basically jumped up on her shoulder, flipped her around and put her in armbar and made the girl tap out. And that was really impressive. It was like, wow, she beat that girl in 14 seconds. But the very next match, I believe it was when she lost to Holly Holmes. And Holly Holmes is not so much a grappler. She's a stand-up fighter. And she knew that Ronda was a grappler. And so she made sure to stay on her feet. And if you can stay on your feet, and you can keep that grappler on their feet, it's like you're in a better position. It's really just comes down to knowing your opponent and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just whatever sport that you passionately want to do. Now, being able to protect yourself is a good thing. Mm-hmm. It is a good thing. Although, aggressive competitive martial arts, I think that's a young man thing. And I already think that I retired from that at 28. So if anyone, is like, hey man, come and have a match, I'm like, no, fuck off. But do you know what I mean? I would only be doing it to maintain now. But now my sport now is surfing. So it's find a way of working out that you love, and everybody's into weightlifting and powerlifting and bodybuilding and things. And I have zero interest in bodybuilding. My unique selling point is my abs. It always is, always was, always will be. That's all.
And you mainly get abs from your diet anyway. It's you can do 1,000,000 sit-ups, but if your diet is shit, you're not going to have 6-pack abs.
Yeah, I do a 5-minute abs workout where it's 30 seconds on and 15 seconds off, right? Mm-hmm. I do that 2 to 3 times a week, got an 8-pack, mostly to do with diet. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I really give a shit about. So everybody's putting pressure on you to be a bodybuilder and this, that, and the other. It's no, you do what you want.
Yeah. That's a big thing too in the manosphere is they really push going to the gym, building up your muscles, and it's just fucking, you don't have to do all that. If that's not you, I love running, that's my favorite exercise. I feel better when I do it. I love listening to my audiobooks. It's therapeutic for me. I would much rather do that than go to the gym. Yeah. So, and you know what? It makes me thinner than the other dudes around here, which makes me more attractive.
Yeah, basically just don't be fat.
Don't be a fat fuck.
Basically it.
And don't be a fat piece of shit.
That's it. Don't be a fat piece of shit. Get your body fat percentage down. And, don't be too skinny either. That's it. Don't be too skinny and don't be too fat. Like,
we've really like pushed the being consistent with, reading books and, going to the gym and stuff like that. One thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was how I'm really consistent with my podcast promotion.
Yes.
Because and I've had people compliment me on that. Not to try to brag or anything, but it's just relevant to the conversation. But I've had guys say I haven't seen too many guys that launch a podcast and are as consistent as you. And the reason why I'm able to be so consistent, specifically with posting the podcast, it literally drops every Monday at 5 a.m. And the way I'm able to do that is I planned it out that way. I thought about it when I launched the podcast. How can I do this where it's not a chore? It's fun to do. And I can consistently, that buzzword, guys, consistently publish a podcast every Monday morning. And the way I decided to do it was record these ahead of time.
Yep.
So like today, for instance, I'm recording with Luke, but this afternoon I'm recording another podcast. So probably next week's episode, I'm recording this afternoon. And I do that so that I have these in the can, as they say, and I can schedule them out. So they drop every Monday, 5 a.m. without fail. And I can even take a couple of weeks off without recording, and it still will consistently drop like that. And you guys never have to miss an episode.
You have since 2020, since summer of 2020, it has been every fucking week.
Yeah.
I have never seen you slack, and you have consistently got better at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at this background, right? No.
You do. The more you stay in there, the better you get, the more you learn, the more you, I didn't like that. And so, maybe I'll do something different next time. One of the things, if I could, is I'm going to actually get the note out, is that people give up when they don't get results straight away. And they think that they're not making progress when they're fucking up. And one of the most counterintuitive things to understand is that when you're fucking up and getting flaked on all the time, you are making ginormous progress, because each time you get 1% better, you learn something, right?
Yeah.
So here is on my iPad. It's called, you probably can't.
Yeah.
You can't see it. It's a note called Things to Improve, and it goes all the way back to 2019, to the second ever date that I had after my 2-year dry spell in 2019. And I can flip straight through up to the present day. Things to improve. So for every date I've been on, everything that I feel I did wrong, in connection with the books, in connection with my intuition, and in connection with what like Benny and the guys from the group say. So for every time you go out there and fuck up, you find one or two things you could do better next time. And it's usually quite obvious where you fucked it up.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you learn from every fuck up, you could spend a year and a half of just straight fuck ups. But if you get 1% better each time, one day, the gold is coming. The gold is coming.
One thing I will say about that, and I did have a note about this, and it also ties in with what I was saying about podcast promoting, is one thing that I used to try to be very consistent about, especially when I first started joining the 3% Man group, is posting my date updates. Guys in the Red Pill community call them field reports, but same idea, right? Like I would, at the end of a date, visually sit there and think about what worked, what didn't. And I would record myself and say, okay, just had a date tonight. This worked great. She responded very well when I did this, this worked really well. And consistently posting those date updates also created value for the guys in the group too, because they would learn from my fuck ups and, I remember I think it was my second date with Marine Corps chick, where I had her over at my house and we ended up not having sex. And I was like, what the fuck did I do wrong here? And so I posted that. I posted my fuck up in the group there. I was like, I don't know what I did. Was I not escalating enough? Was I not doing 2 steps forward, 1 step back? I think that's what I was doing. If I remember right, I wasn't properly seducing her all night.
I think you sat too far away on the couch or something.
That was another thing too. I wasn't being bold and aggressive enough, but still, like the point is that I was consistently posting those date updates and getting feedback from the 3% brothers and stuff like that. Yeah. Benny jumped in there and was like, don't beat yourself up, man. Like sometimes it doesn't always happen on the second date. And even Corey's book says, it's second or third date on average. So,
yeah.
But I was at that point, I was consistently getting laid on the second date.
Yeah.
So when that didn't happen, I was like, what the fuck,
yeah. So I find that to be the case. Yeah. It's always the second for me at the moment.
Yeah. And so getting back to those date updates, one thing I haven't been consistent on for a while is posting my date and relationship updates in the 3% man group, because I've been dating a nurse chick for over a year now. And so one of the things that I've made available on my Patreon is my personal date and relationship updates. So, you guys hear me talk about nurse chick. If you join my Patreon, you can actually see what nurse chick looks like and then see how my relationship's going behind the scenes. Right. So that's one thing I started doing again, because I was like, well, if I'm going to offer this to the Patreon guys, I might as well start posting that again in the 3% man group. So I've been starting to get consistent with that again, where I'm trying to post those at least every other week, because I only see nurse chick every other week. So I try to post date relationship updates every 2 weeks now. That's my goal, to try to be consistent with that.
Yeah. And so that the field report or the date update, that's something we do in Benny's group. The moment I've had a date, I instantly, either with a voice note or better still a video, I just drop the video of everything that happened, especially all the bits that you think were important. And recently it's just been like, good job, dude, good job, that's perfect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There will be little things that I fuck up on. Like I said to somebody, it was a third date, and her air conditioning in the car is broken. And she said, oh, that's something I need to do, to push myself. And that is take passengers in my car. And of course we were in my car, and it was a hot day. And I was like, it will have to be a cold day then, because your aircon sucks. And then I was like, yeah, maybe in the winter or something. And then she was like, yeah, that's breaking dating etiquette. Like, this is a third date. You can't say that yet. And I was like, yeah, that is a bit weird, isn't it? Now,
because you're pushing for the in the future type situation.
Yeah. But the thing is, that shit, as long as you acknowledge that you've done it, it's fine. As long as you catch yourself and go, oh, actually, that's a bit weird, I shouldn't say that. That is a bit weird, isn't it? If you show that you're aware of what you're doing, it's usually never an issue. It's if you do it and then act like it, and act like you do, and just blumber on without, do you know what I mean? If you acknowledge,
I was going to say that awareness thing is key, because I posted my recent date update in the 3% man group and on Patreon too. And one of the things that I became aware of was not necessarily anything I was fucking up specifically with nurse chick, but I was getting really frustrated with my dog. My dog, like, it was thundering out. We were on a hike. My dog was just being a stubborn twit, and I was getting really frustrated by it. And so when I became aware of it, like, dude, you're like losing your cool right now. You need to chill out. This was my inner mind talking. I was like, I just let her off her leash. I was like, you do your own thing. And after that, everything was good, but I had to become aware of it. And I also didn't beat myself up for being, acting like a jerk to my dog and stuff. It was just like, become aware of it and move on.
Yeah. And then you're on to the next fun thing, because the thing is, women, they live in the moment. There's no grid of space and time. They don't hold grudges and memories unless you really fuck up. But
unless you're my mom, just kidding.
Like little things, like as long as you just cut it out and carry and then like on to the next thing, as long as you're able to let go of it in yourself and just move on. They don't, if you're doing everything else right, you can fuck up on a few little things as long as you catch it and stop it.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't carry on doing that all day.
That's another thing to be consistent about, right? Is practicing your self-awareness.
Yeah. And also a lot of people like, yeah, I'm going to act masculine, when I'm with the girl. It's like, no, you act masculine when you're on your own. Yeah. Like you want to practice quickly finding places on Google Maps and like quickly getting the address in fast and like, oh, okay. So, I've come to Starbucks and it's fucking closed. Okay. There's a Dunkin's like 3 blocks down. Let's go there. And like practice taking yourself on dates, practice reserving tables, practice handling things when they fuck up, practice remaining cool when the motherfucker tailgates you for no reason and going like this when he road rages. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of practicing and stuff like that, another thing I wrote down here was something that I was doing when I was back on the dating circuit. And that was trying to, I would always have a place in mind, right? So I always had my go-to places that I would take chicks depending on which town I was dating them in, right? And that's why, like, if you guys go back and listen to the old podcast episodes, you always hear me talk about the Feisty Pint and the Horsefly. It's because those are my 2 places. And the reason why it's important to have the same places for first dates is consistency, repetition. Repetition is the mother of skill, right?
Yeah. You come in very confident then when you've done it that many times.
Yeah.
Because you know that you're gonna start in the Feisty Pint. You're going to then end up in the wherever it is, like 2 blocks down. And she's like, you've done this before. And you're like, no, this is the first time
I've never had a chick say, oh, you've done this before. But the thing is, I had done it like 100 times. My friend, Chuck Kohout, Chuck Daddy, he says that your first date, the only person that should be going on that first date is her. Yeah. You've done this date 1,000 times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And which is 100% true. And once you've done like 1,000 first dates at the same place, like, what to order, how you're going to sit, generally know, like where you're sitting, and how your body language is going to be, like that's consistency,
And you also, where you're going to like hang your coat. It's really important when when you meet someone in a different city, like you meet them in the middle and you're in a city that you don't normally go to. And like you go to that first location and you haven't booked the table or whatever, and you find out that location is really dodgy because you just looked at it on Google and you're like, oh my God, like neither of you want to go there. And then you drive off into like the city traffic and there's bus lanes and there's cop cars and there's like weird pedestrians who are on coke or whatever. And it's like, and you until you've like found that parking lot, that's in a good spot and figured out where the next bar is. It's like that. It's so stressful, those situations when you don't know where you're going and you don't know where you're going to just sit down and park your car and hang your coat. So the best thing you can possibly do if you are going to another location to meet in the middle, or you're going to her area, for example, is, Google it like days in advance, like at least 5 days in advance.
I would also say too, get there early.
Yeah.
Get there like at least maybe 15, 20 minutes earlier than you're supposed to meet her, so that you can scope the place out, like where you want to sit and stuff like that. You have everything worked out.
Yeah. And like, go to the restroom, have a glass of water and be really relaxed. And then you can just stroll out and meet her and be like, wow, hey, fancy seeing you here.
Yeah, I always told the chicks that I was sitting, like, I was like, oh, I'm in the 3rd table to the left when you walk in or whatever. But Benny recommends meeting a chick outside, so you have that experience of walking in with them. Whatever works for you. You could do that even if you get there early. Yeah.
I mean, when your vibe is good and your life is the shit and you've been reading these books consistently and going to the gym consistently year after year and doing everything that we say, it quite frankly doesn't matter. But I do think that shared experience of walking in together I do feel it creates a rapport together.
Oh yeah.
It kind of creates this, that's something you typically do with someone you've known for a long time.
Yeah. One thing I will say about like Benny's techniques and stuff like that, they all work. Benny's shit is like hands down great stuff. I always did things a little differently, but one thing I've learned in basically what I've done studying, like talking to other date coaches like Benny, like yourself, talking to all the different guys in the space that do this shit. There's more than one way to skin a cat. So really it's just like, try this shit out yourself.
Yeah.
And see what works for you, but be consistent with it.
if you find something that works and someone else says, oh, you don't want to do that, like fuck that person. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it.
Right. Like Benny used to get on me all the time because I wasn't setting dates over the phone. I wasn't calling girls and setting dates over the phone because I would set it on the app, and like that worked for me, quite a bit. And the times that I did call to set the date, I got flaked on. So it was like, so it's like, whatever it was that I was doing, I wasn't spiking their interest enough on the phone, whatever. It just, to me, setting the date on the app worked great. So
there is value in that because you were using less steps. Because someone who sets it on the phone, I do agree that it works better because you're, showing more of your character, you're getting more information, she knows more about you, blah, 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 blah. However, before I met Benny, I used to set them on the app. Yeah. And before COVID kicked in, that worked every time. Mm-hmm. Before COVID, I didn't used to get flaked on before any of this lockdown malarkey. Like I had such a strong, when I was with Alpha Activation, that's what we did. Yeah. And it worked. It worked every fucking time. And the beauty of it is, it's like you have your 8 to 12 exchanges or 6 to 8 exchanges.
Yeah.
And then you set the date. Whereas if you do it on the phone, you have your 6 to 12 exchanges. Then you get the number, then you send your number, then you wait a couple of days, and by that point someone else has already spiked their emotions by that point. Mm-hmm. So it's like the phone call thing, it only really works effectively if when you text her your number, she comes back with interest and starts, asking lots of questions and continues the conversation, because from that point, you can now say, when are you free to hop on the call?
Yeah.
But if you say, Luke, it's nice to meet you, and you put your number and your picture, and she says, nice to meet you too, that's not enough investment to set up a phone call. So then you do the whole, wait a few days.
Yeah.
Personally, I find waiting 2 days is the Goldilocks zone.
Gotcha.
Because if you wait 3 days, it's kind of like, oh, he's playing a game with me, right? This is my personal experience.
Okay.
If you wait 1 day, it can be a bit too soon, but I don't think there's a problem with that if the vibe is good. But 2 days, it's like, okay, he's busy doing cool shit, but he didn't forget about me, and he's not playing any games.
Yeah.
I think 2 days is the ultimate.
Yeah. Yeah. When I set it on the app too, I learned try not to set the date too far in advance.
Yeah.
So if she couldn't meet up within 3 days, 3 to 4 days, 4 days max, if she couldn't meet up within that time, like if it was going to be like, oh, I can't meet up for a week or whatever, I would then say, okay, well, why don't I call you on, or I'll reach out on Friday or whatever it would be. So that would be 3 days before that time that she could meet up. And
I remembered that.
Yeah, I did that too. I would say, okay, yeah, let's tentatively plan something for Monday. I'll call you Friday, and we'll figure out the details or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that gives you some time where, you could be mysterious or whatever. And then when you hit her back up, then you set that date. But if you try to set it up like that full week in advance, she's flaking 100%.
No. So I remember that we did that back when we were in the admin group together. I remember we did that, and that worked. Yeah, that's a good one. The other one, what you do is you set the date for 7 days in advance, right? And then on day 4, you then hit her up again with some random thing.
Yeah.
You then,
send her a funny meme or something. I was just thinking
funny meme, a video of you doing something funny.
Call back to an old conversation. Yeah.
Exactly. To check in with her. And then on the day of the date or the night before, you do the confirm, which my favorite one is, can't wait to see what you pick out to wear for me.
Yeah.
If she doesn't respond, you don't show up. That was a big lesson for me. Do you remember when I fucked that one up?
Oh yeah. Oh, we all fucked that up. So all right, Luke, man, this has been a great conversation. We might even be over an hour. I'm not sure, but
Almost.
we can finally share your new Instagram handle. It's been down here in the corner this whole time. Or is it down here? I think it's down here.
It's somewhere. Oh no, it's down in the middle.
It's down here. It's down here on yours.
Yeah.
But it's authentic purpose. Yeah. You guys can now follow Luke on Instagram, and he's going to be posting some cool shit there.
Yeah, I am going to. I've got stuff in the can that I'm going to throw out there. So I have been busy with the launch on Warriors Dating
Warriors Quest. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been busy with that, but I've got stuff that I just need to edit and throw up. So yes, there is, you can find me online now, and you can interact with me about different things.
Yeah. And slide into Luke's DMs if you want some personal help on being consistent.
Exactly. So yes, we covered it pretty well. Make it easy for yourself.
Yeah. Make a routine.
Yeah, don't put too many steps in between.
I was gonna say, make it something that you can stick to.
Yeah. And if that means you have to simplify it or reduce it the load a little bit, then that's fine, because we're playing the long game and we are focusing on the process and never the results.
Yeah, great, excellent as always, Luke. I'm going to give you your afternoon back, or your evening now, I think.
Yeah, it's 8:05.
Yeah, that's late, man. All right, brother. I'll talk to you later. Luke, it's always good to talk to you, brother. I always like when you come on the show. I like the dynamic that we have. It's fun. If you guys were listening at the beginning of the show and it felt a little rushed, that's because my goddamn cat is right outside the door and she's ringing her bell. She's scratching and stuff like that. So I was trying to hurry up and record that, and I had to throw something at the door to get her to shut the fuck up. All right. Listen, if you guys want to support the show, please join the Patreon. Check out the link in the description. There's 5 tiers available. The lowest tier is only $5. $5 will go so far in helping out the show, especially if you get a lot of value out of the show. It's the least you can do. So check that out. Patreon.com/ComeOnManPod, or click the link in the description. Other than that, that's all I have this week, guys. We'll see you next week on Monday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, go out and get it.